Hey everyone, it's Ria. Thanks for coming back to my channel. In today's video, we're doing something that was very much an impromptu bag that I decided to make yesterday and just finished today. It is the Lola, by Swoon. You can see here. It's such a great bag to come together really quickly, depending on what you do, but has a very elegant look. And I think this is really a great bag if you're a beginning bag maker because it's really just kind of a big pouch. Yes, there are some different types of things to it that you need to do, and you are still putting on a base, as you can see, but it still is basically a pouch. And so I think this is a great one if you want to kind of up your game when it comes to bag making. I didn't do anything fancy or special with it. I mean, I guess you can see it's just plain red. Excuse me. I did do hidden strap connectors, and it's just plain on the back. I made this one. It's inspired by my sister and in memory of my sister. I have a sister who died 20 years ago, and she loved red. She absolutely loved red. She would have worn or carried this bag. I 100% guarantee if I'd been bag making then, she would have carried this. So I went to see Wicked, the new Wicked for Good yesterday, and somehow especially the song For Good really brought back a lot of memories about my sister, and I think a lot of memories for when she unfortunately died. And so I felt the need to make something that reminded me of her and something that I could carry with me so that I could feel like I have part of her with me. Yeah, I think this is something she would have carried, and so I like that idea of that. I know 100% this is a red. This shade of red is one she would have loved. I think this is Scarlet Red. I know it's a more me know. I think it's the Scarlet Red. I have to get more because I want to make a crossbody strap for it. But it's coming off. I'm trying to see if I can get it. That's closer. I think that angle where you don't have as much reflecting off of it. It's a deep red. It's not a bright cherry red. I mean, it has some dark undertones to it. There's not truly texture to it, but it looks like there's some texture. It's a beautiful red, and really looks like a gorgeous red leather. And so yeah, very happy with how it turned out. I think one thing I might do differently, it's been a while since I've made a Lola, and the only ones that I've made were either with cotton woven or cotton lycra. I don't think, what's the word? I hadn't made one with vinyl. I think, did I make one with cork? No, it was cotton woven. And I did use foam because I used foam in those. I like the feeling of it, but I'm wondering if maybe next time, if I'm using vinyl, maybe I will use something first, maybe like a Fuse Plus, just to give it a little something extra, and then some fleece to give it that loftiness that the foam sort of does. Just, I don't know that it needs to be feeling quite as squishy as it needs to. I like the idea of it having a little structure like the foam does. You can see it kind of goes back to its shape, and I think the Fuse Plus might do that, and then the fleece will give it that little bit of loftiness that it feels. So but I did change a couple things. Normally you would sew the handles directly down. Obviously I didn't do that. I did hidden strap connectors. I also put this D-ring here. The plan was, and it'll work. Definitely I'm glad that I did it the way I did. One, if I had a bag charm, so if I wanted to make it look a little different, I could hang it there. But I also wanted to be able to put a crossbody strap on, and where to go? Here it is. This is obviously, oops, not the strap. You normally would put this behind the rectangle ring. Let me just put this on so you can see, so that you don't have it hanging down all the time. And that way also, when you're using it, it's behind the handles. But when I tried putting you can see this is what it would look like. When I tried putting that little D-ring on with the rectangle connector, it just, behind it just wasn't working well. It didn't. Now, maybe that was me not bothering to fiddle with it enough, because I could have done that. And it was late, and I think I wanted to try to get this done. But I'm perfectly fine the way it is. As I said, if I got a bag charm, it would be great, because now it's hanging off of the front. And I will most of the time use it like this. And I can still put it like that on the crook of my elbow, but it's just in case. I like the idea of potentially having a crossbody strap there. And now that I think about it, because it's a just in case, I might actually do a webbing one, or maybe I'll use the debossed roses. The black debossed roses would look really pretty. So I did do hidden strap connectors. I didn't cut enough foam out when I did it, so you'll see in the video, and you can probably see here, hopefully, there you can see a little bit of the edge where I cut. I didn't do a good job cutting where my strap connectors should go. So this one spot where you can see some of the cut, I will at some point take some edge coat, or not paint and edge coat, well, yes, it could be edge coat, but some paint, some leather paint, try to get it pretty close to this color, and then I'll just dab it there with a toothpick or that very, very fine paintbrush, because I don't want it to get anywhere else, but I would like to cover that little bit. But I'm happy with the strap connectors. I didn't want really to interrupt the solid, with the exception of my tag right there. And then I do have purse feet. And then inside, and I have sort of the rose zipper pull. Inside, let me put this up. I changed things up a little bit. So I do have a zipper panel. There you can go. You can see I used the teddy bear brown Renew canvas. I think it looks really nice in there. And I used that new Foraging Flowers. I'll have to look up. I can't remember if that was the real name of it. For this print. This print is absolutely perfect. This is one of the new floral prints. You can see it more on this side. It is absolutely perfect with the brown and with this red. I know there was a red that came out with it, or it was the Sugar Spice Cinnamon. Cinnamon's in the name. I have it. I have a roll of it, and I was debating using that, but this is, again, for this bag, this is the appropriate red. And that print looks gorgeous with that, but in the event you have this red in your stock, your stash, this print is perfect with it. Absolutely perfect. So I put a little slip pocket in, different from what the pattern has, because I'm going to use this for work and it's for my badge. So I don't want it to go all the way to the bottom. I want to be able to get it easily. And then I just, the zipper pocket, again, you had one. I just like to do overlays now. And I'm using the new little tag. There you go. You can see that it's the new colorway of the "You Look Really Pretty Today" tag. That's all that's in there. And I think it turned out really well. I'm so happy with it. Yeah, so as I said, this was sort of inspired by my sister and in memory of my sister. I'll probably stick some photos in because I'm feeling very nostalgic right now. But yeah, so with that, let's get started making this bag. I know I normally show the materials at my cutting table, but I'm doing this really kind of last minute. I'm really hoping I can get this done to take to work with me tomorrow. It's a fast sew, even though I might be doing a few things to make it a little longer, but we're going to do it all from right here. So we have our main pieces. So I've got two of these, which I can see in the video. It's looking far redder than it is. I mean, it's very red. It's looking bright red it looks like in the video, but I think this is the Scarlet Red from Warmy Now. I'm going to have to check on that because I want to be able to make a crossbody strap, but it's got a darker undertone to it. It's not a bit really bright on it. I think it's just the light shining down. It also looks like it's, wow, big. But right here, these notches, these are important because when we put our bottom panel on, we're going to first sew between there, but eventually these are going to come together. So you can see these are going to fold this way. It's not as big as you think when those fold that way. And so we've got that one here. You can see that's why where I put my tag on, it seems like it's further into the bag than you'd need, but once you go like this, you can see it really is more at the edge. So we've got our two main panels. I'm going to be doing hidden strap connectors, so I've already cut those out. I've interfaced these with foam. I sort of cut away. I decided to do that after. So I've done that. And I've already put tape at the top here. The other thing I've done, and the pattern will show you or tell you, I've put a couple of marks here and I put some on my lining as well. The pattern will tell you when you put your zipper on, I'm going to center it, but it should go to a certain point on each edge. And so that's what the first tick is. Hopefully you can see that there are two ticks there. The second one will be when we sew it all together, we only sew to that point there. It's important when we're turning or we're sewing the sides up that you don't sew all the way to the edge. I mean, you can. It may make it just a little more challenging when you're sewing up the sides, but I marked it for that reason. So we've got those two. I have my base, as you can see here. I've already put the purse feet on. Excuse me. You can see when I do purse feet as well to help figure out where they should go. I know that you can't see exactly the points where they're there, but I determined how far up from whatever it is, and in this case I did it from the edge of the interfacing, how far up I wanted that, or really I have a line down here. This is where my seam allowance will be. So I'm going to sew there. So how far up from that? And I do that all the way around basically. So if I knew it was there, here's that edge right there, sort of the comparable one. And I marked it around, and that way, you know, wherever those intersections are, that's where I put the purse feet, and I know everything's nicely aligned. So I've done that already. I also have already marked the lines for when we're ready to sew. So that's what some of these are here. I've sort of drawn in my seam allowance here on the side because it's a curve. They're just a couple of dashes. I don't know if you can see that. But the other part we'll find out when we sew. We want to ensure that we're starting and stopping at a certain point from the edge of this. And so I've already marked all of those on there. Oh, and sorry, I've got also 2 handles here. We'll see if I decide to cut them down a little bit. I do want these to be more grab handle size. I think they should be okay because I'm going to put strap ends on, and I think that I don't want these to be shoulder straps. I want these to be true grab handles because I'd like to also hopefully have, as I mentioned, a crossbody strap. And so I have my strap connectors right here. I have, here we go, my exterior zipper, my main zipper, and I'm just going to use some of the same vinyl there for that. And then for my hardware, I'm going to be using these really pretty, I love these rectangle rings here. I want to make it so that I can use, as I said, a strap connector. So there are 1-inch rectangle rings with a 3/4 inch sort of D-ring on the top that you can get from Warm You Know. But I would need to use those all the way. I just decided I didn't want that. I want it for the most part when you see this to be these, except when I might be using the strap connector. So then I did pull out a crossbody strap. I pulled out one of my normal D-rings, my 3/4 inch D-rings, but that is really thick and I don't think I'm going to like how that looks. So what I pulled out were these small ones. So these are, you can see, if I look at these are 3/4 inch. I mean, if we look at, there we go, maybe that's easier to see. They're 3/4 inch. These little D-rings come from the clamp-on type. Hold on, let me grab it. This type from Sonar. I was thinking at first, is there a way I could use it? That's why this is also out. I don't think so. I mean, I was thinking maybe on the sides. It just got to be too complicated, especially for this evening. And so what I figure I'll be able to do is put this one behind it. I'm going to put my strap connector through both of these. So most of the time you'll see this. But if I decide I want to use the crossbody strap, my handles would go down. So this will go down this way and this will be here. So this will be behind it, because if it's in front of it, that means it'll be underneath the handle when I want to use the handle, very likely. And so I'm going to put it behind it so that if the handle goes down, even if the handle's up, it'll just go out a little like that. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll decide when I get there, but I think I'm going to add that. These are small enough. I don't think they're going to be too problematic. I then have, here's my first lining piece. I'm using this, it's Teddy Bear Brown Renew Canvas, and this is the new, what is it, Foraging Flowers? Is that what I think it's called? Print, because I just think it's pretty, and look how nicely that looks with that brown. I know the reds aren't exactly right, but they're actually not too far off because you can see there's some brown in that red there. So I think it's going to work well with the vinyl. So I have this and my pocket pieces. This is one where I had forgotten it until I started to put together. This has to be a small pocket. I mean, it'll tell you in the pattern, but I decided to do an overlay, as you can see. And you get, this is misleading how wide this is. You're like, oh yeah, that'll fit. No, remember, if you're going to do an overlay, you need to base it on where the snips are, or the little darts are there. It has to be narrower than that because these are going to fold in. So just keep that in mind. And so I have my pocket pieces. And then on the other side, I'm going to put a slip pocket. So I decided, oh, I should have one more. It's here somewhere. Oh, here it is. I think this is it. I'm going to do a slip pocket. I did mark at the top where the top will be. And so this will be it. I'm going to sew the 2 pieces together, leave the top raw, because then I'm going to put just the trim on there. And you can see, that's where you can see, look how nice those 2 look together. It's looking so, maybe that's a little better. It's looking so cherry red, tomato. This is a beautiful, deep, dark, rich red with some, as I said, darker undertones. So it's not coming through the way it should in the video. But I'm going to put that on one side because if I'm able to use this for work, I need to put my badge in there. So that will be the other piece here. And then we have our base. So I'm going to start I've been debating whether I want to use black thread. I wish I had a chocolate brown thread. That would be really pretty. At the moment I have kind of a nice neutrally colored thread, and I might just use that. I think I will because it's there. I want to do this. So I'm going to do anything that requires like a full bobbin. That's the word I'm looking for. So I'm going to do my strap connectors and my handles. I'm just going to sew those down so I can get those going. Not quite sure why I decided to kind of do such a wide seam allowance on half of it. And we'll put this one on the back. I think it'll be fine otherwise. So we've got those done. Let's do, I think, now I'm debating, do I like how that looks? I don't think I do. I think I want those black. I want this color on the inside because of the print here. I don't want black on this. But I don't like this on the outside. I want that to be black. So we're going to, I'll save these for something else. I'm sure something else will look great with that. We're going to do everything else though. We're going to do the lining first and all the pieces for the lining, I should say. And then we will come back and I'll change my thread and do black for the outside, and we'll just assemble everything with black. I think that'll be okay. So we'll do this slip pocket first. And so for this, I'm just going to sew around the edges. This was not part of the pattern. I'm just going to do a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. I think that's my plan, because it'll make it a bit smaller. I just need it, as I said, big enough for my badge. Okay, let's just trim into these corners a little bit. Help it turn. I had a weird little bobble. My one of the clips actually got stuck on the edge of the sticker, so I guess that's a reason not to have stickers there, but they're fun. Even when you're 54, they're fun. Okay, let's just push this out. I'm probably going to, not probably, I will go over to my cutting table so that I can get the trim on there, but here, I'll push this out so we can take a look at it so far. Okay. It'll look nice. So yeah, I'll be right back. I'm going to go put some tape on the back as well. I'm going to put the trim on. We'll need to top stitch that, and then I will put it onto, I'm actually going to just, we've seen me, I've done pockets like that before. I'm going to go put the trim on and top stitch it, and then I'll be back. We'll sew it down to the lining. Okay, so we're ready to go. It was a little hard placing it because when you've got a curve and nothing is actually straight on the top or bottom. If I did this per the pattern, I mean, you'd be sewing it into the bottom here. I wanted something small, as I mentioned, for my badge. So I don't want anything where I have to keep reaching down really far. This is, in fact, bigger than my badge, but it'll be good. So I'm going to sew this down, 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I did put some tape down there, so one thing actually might go, there we go. To keep in mind, if you have tape on the underside there, you want to be sewing so that it is within the seam allowance. If you do it a little shy of that, you're going to feel the tape on the inside. So just keep that in mind. My trim is just a smidgen short, but that's okay. This is for me, and so I'm okay with that. So let's see. I back stitch well at the top here because I will be going into it. So you can see it's a little short. It's okay, not a big deal. So let's do this. I'm going to, yeah, sorry, I had to think about what am I doing here. That's at a good height there. Actually, I might bring it down a smidgen. There we go. So we're going to sew around the edge, 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I'm still, got this at a stitch length of 5. It looks fine. It's not perfect, but it's fine. I'm going to cut out the inside, and we're going to put the zipper pocket on the inside. And yeah, it just gets really uneven, but it's fine. This is for me. I said it's, we'll see, it's 10 to 11. I don't know if I'll get this done for work tomorrow, but we'll be right back. We're going to put the zipper pocket on. Okay, so now we're going to do the process. Even though I want to get this done, I'm going to do the process so that the pocket kind of looks nice and clean on the inside. I'll link the video where I've done that before. I've sort of, in fact, walked through different options for doing zipper panels. But you can see I have cut it out. I put the zipper inside. I have one piece on, and I'm just going to sew basically to the bottom. I will be back stitching on this. I think that's the one thing that I will be doing to save time. But once I've got the bottom done, I'll fold it down, put the other piece on, sew that on, and then we'll be ready to go. So here we go. Not perfect by any means, but fine for this evening. I know black isn't the perfect color. I'm using black on the outside. I didn't have a color that I thought would look right with this, and I'm okay with that. I think black and brown do look nice together. I think it's fine. So I'm just going to sew down the sides. Oh, I want to actually, hold on. Let's trim a little bit. And I'm just going to trim it all the way across. Okay. And then we're going to fold it up as I lose clips. Okay. Now I can sew down the sides. This side's a little long, so let's cut this down. There. Okay. So now we have our zipper pocket. Looks nice on the inside. We'll be able to take the clips off. In fact, I could probably turn this a little bit. Probably get used to its shape that it will need to be in. Sort of folding it out. There we go. So that's the shape. It'll help it when we need to sew it up later, but we're going to leave a hole open in the bottom, and we're going to pull it all through the pocket to sew it up. So we are now at a point where I need to change my thread, because I do want to use black for the rest, and I think it'll be fine. The only other part, I'm going to show you how I'm going to top stitch only the lining, but yeah, I want black for everything else. I'll be right back. So let's sew our strap connectors. I've got black thread in there. I decided to do more like 1/4 of an inch, I guess, but it's fine as long as it's consistent across. I've got my 4 strap connectors. I'm going to leave them like that for a moment. I'm going to actually bring this up for a second. I'm going to do my handles. I will be putting strap ends on, but I'm going to sew down the ends. Probably need to bring this up a little. There we go. It's a little wide too, but that's okay. Let's do the other one. Okay, those are set. That one looks pretty good too. Great. Let's do our zipper. So we can have this done. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to bring that down. Just do 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Got the back stitch once, but it should be fine. Trim the ends. There we go. So here's my zipper. Let me grab a pen. There we go. So what I want to do is mark the center. And so I'm going to fold it in half, and then just take my pen and mark the centers, both sides. Okay, that's done. Now let's see, let's get our exterior together. I want to sew on my tag first, and then we will put on the strap connectors. Great, so I just decided, as you can see, I backstitched, but I think that looks fine. So now let's do our strap connectors. And so let me snip these. Now, for the ones with the D-rings, I'm going to put them both on the right side. It might seem like, well, you need one on, my thought is I'm going to have one on one side here, one on the other side. And they need to be opposite. But when you're sewing them or putting them on, they need to be on the same side. Because if you think about it, I'll do one, put them both here on the right side in this case. But as I said, once I sew them together, one of them will end up on that side. So, oops, this one here. So you'll see. So let's do that first. So the first thing we need to do, so the strap connectors, or the hidden strap connectors, I have the template from Jolie Lee Creations, which I have two actually. It's right here. This is all nice and glittery, but it has a mark, so I'm using I decided to use 3/4 inch strap connectors, and so I've got 3/4 inch sort of, it's a template to cut it out for that. So I used the pattern piece to determine where it should go. And I actually went a little below it because I wanted the area right here, this line, to be the top of what is on the pattern. So I went a little below, I traced it, and so now we have this. When you put the strap connector in, you want to have the wrong side facing you. You push it down in there. You want it to fit. You don't want it to be too tight, nor do you want it to be too loose. This looks good. You can see it's not pulling on the side, so it's the perfect width. I like to have a little more facing up on the top than here, just because I find it a little easier. I'm going to pull a little bit more down. Now, normally I'd say keep it straight, but we need it to go at an angle. And so what we're going to want to do here, excuse me, we're going to sew down right about 1/8 of an inch from that where sort of the cutout is. The goal is to sew the top part of this strap connector onto the the main panel itself. You're only sewing on the strap connector. Do not sew off of it. Back stitch well. We'll see if I caught it. I am notorious for missing. Yep, I missed it. Totally missed it. See, this is where I'm saying you've got to be careful. All I did was sew on the strap connector itself. Okay, see? Need to sew a little bit higher. I am notorious for that. You can do it from the back, I guess. I could have done that. Let's try that. Let's see. I'm going to have it go in a little, I don't want to sew over that, so I'm going to have that go in a little bit more. So I can see where that was before. It's right there. And the goal is to have it sewn right above that. So if you do it from the back, I don't know why I didn't think about that before. I can see where I need to sew. So, there we go. Again, I don't want to go wider than the strap connector itself. Hopefully that was good. Let's see. Yep, that looks okay. It's not a lot right there. That's okay. I'm going to be doing some more sewing. And if anything, if I want to do a little bit wider, now I see where it is. And so I can come over here now and just maybe extend that a little bit. I don't want to perforate it, but I can make it a little bit longer. I would like to get it as wide as I can on this strap connector. There we go. Yep, just a little bit wider. That's perfect. Okay. And I don't want to perforate it. That's not what I'm trying to do, but I do want it to be strong. Okay. So now what I want to do is put on a D-ring and a rectangle ring. So I've got these two here. So I'm going to put the D-ring on. No, I want to put, sorry. That was the rectangle ring anyway. I want to put the D-ring on, yes. And I'm going to put this on. I think this is how I want to do it. I'm going to test it first. So what you do is you put whatever it is you're putting on, and then you push this back through the hole like that. And you'll see it like this. So this is what I was thinking. As I said, normally, maybe it should go in the front. Let's take it out, because that doesn't look good. I don't like how that's looking. I could put it on the front, and that way my handles just always stay up, even if I'm using the crossbody. I guess that would happen. That would be okay. Let's see. Yeah, that's better, because it could go down. I could have a charm there. And then if I'm using it, those are the crossbody. Oh, see, now I do have to make this a little looser. Notice how I pulled it down the way you normally would. This is how you would normally have it down, so this is nice right here. But notice how this doesn't go up any higher. I think I want this a little looser. There we go. So it's like that. I need my D-ring to be up a little bit. So just be careful with that. So I'm holding that up. Let's see. I think that will work. It still moves a little. I think that will work. Okay, so I've got that in where it needs to be. There's a lot going on there. We'll see how well this works. What you want to do now is you flip this over. There's a lot going on there. Oh, this is going to be challenging because there's so much in here. I want to try to keep this straight too. I can see that it's bending. I mean, it should be at an angle, but okay. So I still want it to look like that. Turn it over, and you can see there's this little tab that came through. We need to sew on that. And that is where it's a little challenging. Okay, hopefully I got where it needs to be. There's just so much there. I'm going to bring this up. The other one without the D-ring will be easier. Keeping an eye on the time. 11:20 now. But there's not that much more to this. I'm just making it challenging. Now, if you have a zipper foot, use that. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to be riveting this down too, but let's see. If I could see the threads. There we go. Yeah, we did. Yeah, I think, talk about crooked. Ugh. Just had to move it over, I guess, a little bit. It didn't kind of go in as straight as I'd like. And that's where you can I'm kind of maneuvering it still a little bit. And I'm going to rivet it then. And hopefully that'll help hold it in place. It's a little loose. See, this is looser than I'd like because I have 2 rings there. But hopefully it'll be okay. Let's do the other ones first, and then we'll go from there. So we've got the connectors on and riveted in. The one thing I noticed, and I can see it a little here too, it's probably I cut it. I should have cut more of the foam away before I cut those slits because I don't think I did a very good job. I could see here just a little bit of the edge. Part of that's because this is not down as far as it should be. But this one, it's more, you probably can see it right there. You can see it when I set it, I didn't pull it down enough. So you can see a little bit of the back. What I will probably do after, it's on the back, so I'm not as concerned right now. I think I'm going to try to get some edge paint to sort of paint that a little bit to help it blend in, just a smidgen. So I'll get something that kind of matches this, and I can just do a little touch up there. I think it should be okay. I mean, it's sewn down well. It's now riveted in place, so I think it should be okay, but there you go. So now we're ready to start putting this together. And so the first thing we're going to do actually is put on one of our bases. You refresh that, not one of our bases. We're going to put the base on to one side of both the lining and the exterior. We want to get that started now. Not going to do both, so we're just going to do one. I'm going to do this on the front because then I'm going to be ready to sew the zipper onto this one. And so I'm going to clip this across. And when we sew this, the pattern is going to have you mark it, as I mentioned before, and you're going to sew from mark to mark. You're not sewing from edge to edge. So just keep that in mind. So, in fact, I'll put my needle down in that mark. There we go. Okay. We're not top stitching anything here, so don't worry about having to top stitch the base. Let's do one with the lining. So I'm going to do, I think, the front pocket with one of these as well. Now it's time to do the zipper. So we just wanted to get that much done for now. Don't worry, it might feel weird, but that's how it is. And so what we're going to do now, I'm going to fold these down as well as much as I can. There we go. At least somewhat out of the way. That one's going to be a little harder. I can't get it out of the way entirely. That's okay. I'll get it to work. So we're going to take our tape off, and I'm going to take my zipper. Now, keep in mind, if this is my front and I want my zipper to open in this direction, then I want to make sure, yeah, I've got it the right way. So I've got my center marks here, and I've got the tape. I'm going to put my center mark for my zipper on there, and I'm going to work it down. Now, when I put this here, hopefully, if I cut everything correctly, it should go, it goes a little further. I think it'll be okay. Let me see how it goes on this side. Did I cut? So my zipper is a little longer than it should be, but I think it'll be fine. Hopefully it will be fine. I will make it fine. And so I'm just hugging that curve. Now you can base this down now if you want. I think I'm just going to put my lining on top. So let's grab the lining here. I mean, right now you're basically doing a zipper sandwich. So, okay. So I'm going to put this together. So again, I'm aligning my centers. My zipper was right side down against the exterior. And now my lining is going right side down against the back of the zipper. Get that out. So I said my zipper is a smidgen long, but I think it should be okay. So I have these marks on the back, and per the pattern, let me scoop my, trying to make sure I'm going to have to feel carefully down here for these rectangle rings, because it's not going to want to be out of the way. But I want to sew only from the outermost mark that I have to the outermost mark on the other side. Do not sew all the way across. And so I'm going to try to also keep my zipper in there. I'm coming up on my zipper, so let me move it out of the way. There we go. I'm keeping an eye on those tick marks. Don't go past it. There we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, the pattern does not have you top stitch, but I think I want, just so that my, well, we'll see. My thought was I would top stitch through the lining only if I can, but you know what? I don't think I can because of how the curve, because of the curve. My thought was I would pull this out and top stitch on the lining only, but it's not wanting to do that. But I think it should be okay without it. Let's see. So I really would like to not, I like the fact that there's no top stitching there, just this continuous red. The only black you see is on the strap connectors. I think it'll be okay. Okay, we're not going to top stitch. We're going to leave it as is. Let's take our back. I'm so bummed about that, but that's okay. I can touch that up later. I'm the one who will notice it now before anyone else. And this is for me anyway. So like what we did before, we're going to line our centers up. Well, I need to turn this around so I can see the center of my zipper tape with the center of the panel. Just work your way down. And like before, I'm going to, where is that D-ring? Pull that out of the way. Oy. As much as I can. Here's my zipper. Well, let's get the zipper out of the way first. Okay. There's a lot going on in here. There we go. So I'm going to sew from that tick mark to the tick mark. one spot. Let's see how it looks. Oh, there goes my snips. Okay, I want to see how this looks. Is it really noticeable? No, I think it'll be okay. So it'll go a little wide in a couple spots, but since we're not top stitching it, I think it'll be fine. Okay, so new pair of snips until I get those other ones there. So now it's time to sew on the bottom. So let's sew the other part on. So now that this is here, I suppose you could have done it the whole thing later, but do this. Okay. And like before, remember we need to go from one mark to the next, so I'm going to put my needle into the mark where I need to start. And back stitch well. I'm going to do the same for the lining, but we're going to leave a hole there so that we can sort of turn everything through. So don't sew all of it. Hopefully I will remember. I'm telling you now. Watch me forget. No, I won't forget. Maybe. We'll see. You really just want to sew enough on this one at the edge so that we're going to essentially box our corners in a moment, and you want to be able to box them. So that's what we're looking to do. So you don't need to sew a ton, just enough to sort of do that boxing. So my husband is probably wondering, why am I not going to bed yet? It's almost midnight. I should be going to bed, which is true. Bring this down. That should be enough. And I only need to do enough so that I have my ends attached so I can box it. Okay. Get this out of the way. He's probably going to come down. You really need to go to bed. You need to go to work in the morning. I know. So now what we're going to do is sew our sides together. So I'm going to clip here. Now, one thing that's important is, think of this is sort of like a pouch, and I normally have, when I do a pouch, I have my zippers sort of pointing towards the pouch when I sew it together. But this is part of the reason why we don't sew it towards the end, all the way to the end. You can see we need this open because we have these curves. And if we didn't have that, if these were all sewn, it'd be really hard to sew these sides together. So just line up your sides, and in fact, you can see line up your sides here, all the way to the top on your main first. Line everything on the side. And now I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to align the top. There we go. Go all the way down. Oh, I should make sure things are a little open on here too. So hold on a second. Where is... Let's open the main zipper a little bit. Wait, this is... What am I holding here? That's the pocket. That's open. Where's the main? Here it is. I'm trying to find my main zipper. Here it is. Just open that a little bit. Okay. So I've got that clipped. Let's do the same over here. So again, I'm kind of pushing my zipper tabs towards the inside, but the main thing I'm doing is lining up the edges right here of my exterior. At the bottom. That's the important, those little points there, those are important at the top. And if those are properly aligned, then everything else should line up. Now let's do the base, same thing. I'm going to clip right there. Okay, so we're basically going to sew all the way down. I know I was just refreshing my memory and watching Brittany from the Emporium do it. I think she did up one and then up, and then she flipped it around. I'm gonna take her advice there. I think it's gonna be easier, especially since this little intersection here can be challenging. I'm going to also increase or make this a little wider than for the lining. So I'm gonna make it a smidgen wider, so it can be a tighter lining. Until I get up towards the top, then I'm going to bring it into the width of the seam allowance for the main part. Maybe I'll keep going. So the other side now. I can tell for me right here, it's a little tighter than it should be. I'm going to try to reinforce it because my zipper was a little long. But that's okay. I'm just going to try to get it a little closer if I can. Let's see, there we go. I think Brittany would have been right. I should have gone up one side and like done the lining and then done the main, but that's okay. And on the right side. Yeah, we'll see. Now we just need to box our bottoms. So that we're gonna box it. Now I didn't mark my centers on my bottom piece, but it should be okay actually, because we now have this center mark here, and I'm going to just kind of open this up. See, I can show you. So where those, come on, there we go. Where those darts were, it's going to help it sort of spread right there. So now I can just straighten that out, and it's going to fit the curve of the base. I'm going to butterfly it open. Probably trim down the seams a little bit after, but I'm going to do this now. Butterfly it open. There we go. Flip all the way along. Oh, that did not sew all the way down. That's interesting. Didn't run out of thread. Oh, it's because I went to the wrong mark. Okay, let's finish that. I went to the mark that I had for my purse feet. Okay, now it'll work. There we go. I'm like, why is that open? Okay, so again, I'm going to sort of pull this out. And you can see how the base just fits really nicely in there. It sort of conforms naturally to that curve as well. So butterfly that open. You could staple here if you wanted to help keep everything in place, but I think I should be okay. Okay, and so now we're going to sew that down. You know, I know you're not going to be able to see it. I want to try to do it from, I know it actually wants you to do it this way. Can I do it this way? Nah, I'm going to have to do it this way. I just want to sew it through the seam allowance in the pattern. I have it marked on this side. I really would like to sew it from the bottom. Let's see. You know what? I am going to staple it just because that way I know it's not going anywhere. I can trim that down. I have foam in my seam because I kind of cut it. I didn't lay it down as well, but that's okay. My main goal was to ensure that the foam wasn't up in the zipper, so it came a little lower than it should have. That's okay. Needed to do it at that angle. So with the exception of, I'm going to actually trim most of this out, but I'm not going to trim right sort of at this middle seam here. Oops, so I'm just going to take out that staple, but the rest of them I'll trim out. So I'm taking out the one that goes over the side seam. I'm going to trim the rest. Okay, let's do the base and then we can turn it. So base, not that I'm not as concerned about it, but it is 12:02, so supposed to take a shower this evening. Guess that will be tomorrow. Hopefully I remember to get up to take a shower. Okay, let's pull this. I'm just butterflying the sides. Okay, sew these up. And sorry, I know you can't see it. I'll show you when it's done. These are not very sharp snips. One of these. I'm just going to trim a little here. Not as concerned about trimming the side seam on this. So I'm going to turn it through the bottom. Open this up all the way. See how it look. And I'm concerned about my zipper tabs because I did get closer than I wanted to, but we'll see. As I said, my zipper was a little long. Oh, nope, I think it looks okay. Just sort of pushing them out the way you would on a pouch. So that's really all it is, since I did tabs on both sides. And it turns out well because of how it was here on the sides where we didn't sew all the way down. A little bit there. Just need to burn off. I can see a little bit of, I think actually the lining, but it'll be okay. Anything that's a little close, no, it looks okay. They look okay. I'm trying to push it out. You can see right there. I can snip some of that. Actually, what is that? Okay, I'll melt that down. I'll melt whatever there was a little sticking out there. I'll probably melt it and then put a little dab of glue on that. But let's just push this in and see how it looks before I sew anything up. Look at that. It looks nice. So we've got I'll put the handles there. That looks good where that is. Kind of help it form. Yeah, it looks good. So let's just sew up the base and the pocket. So I'm going to pull the base through. So let's get the pocket out first. I've got a number of places where I can see I have to melt down some threads. That's fine. You can do that later. Pull out your base and your lining. We're just sewing across that bottom part. So left open. So just find that. There we go. I actually had drawn a line on there to sort of my seam allowance, but I can start and stop, obviously, where I can see where I stopped, so I can start and stop there. I'm going to put these together. Close that. Sorry, I know it's hard to see, or you can't see, but push that back in. Let's see, before I close it up, I want to see, does the lining look nice and tight? Let me see. Yeah, I think it looks fine. You can see how it is. Oh, maybe you can't in there very well. Let's see. I'll get some photos in there. But let's just close up the pocket. You know, it's a little hard to see with the dark lining. Push that inside. Get those corners pushed in too. That looks good. My lining, I probably could have tightened that lining up a little bit. I said it before, it looks fine. It could probably have been a little tighter, but you know what, it's fine. I'm trying to get it flat. Oh, I might have a pleat in there. That might be part of the problem. But yeah, there's a pleat. I just noticed it. That's too, and I probably just sewed that pleat up now. I might go in. I'm not happy about that pleat. I'm really not happy. Oh my gosh, no, I'm not happy about that at all. Here, you can see. I think you can see right here what happened. It totally is not good. So it's fine for, I mean, I will go in. I can still open up the pocket again and just fix that in the base, and that'll make it, it's not lying flat at the bottom. I thought it was before, but it's not. So once I fix that, I think it'll be fine. So I guess I won't finish this tonight, because I'm not going to rip it out tonight. But I think that's going to look nice. So I'll come back and I'll show it to you after, when I've got the lining fixed. You can sort of see here. As I mentioned, this is where you can see now, when you put something on like this, like with the D-ring on it, we do it on the same side. You do it on the right side and both. But that way, when you sew it together, it's over here, but you can see it's on the other side here. So it'll work if I want to use this as a crossbody. This is way bigger than any purse I normally would carry for myself, but that's okay. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll be back and take a look at it when it's all done. Okay, so if you will have seen the intro, it's done. Let me show you on the inside. I didn't go into great detail with this in the intro. I think you can see, hopefully you can see, the line. There we go. Let me get it. There we go. The lining looks nice and flat and on the inside, and it fits it well. So I did what I had done, and I'm sure you've all done this before, when I was sewing the hole closed in the lining, the back side or the side or the underside sort of crept up, and so I sewed part of the side here into the base because it just crept up that way. So I just opened up the pocket in the pocket. I opened up the seam in the zipper pocket and pulled the base back through. I didn't feel it before because when I was sort of putting the base in, I thought I just have to finish straightening it out. That's what I thought it was. It was just a fold, I thought. No, it was because I had sewn it. So it was an easy enough thing. As I said, I opened up the seam in the zipper pocket, and that was fairly easy to do, very easy to do. Then pulled it through again, just pulled out the stitches for the hole that I had closed, and I closed it again and then closed the pocket. So it really was an easy thing. Don't get discouraged if something like that happens. See, I have one more spot down here where I have to sort of just burn my ends, but otherwise it's looking great. I will, as I mentioned in the intro, make a crossbody strap for it, and as I've been doing this video, this intro and outro, thinking I will likely do a black one, a black debossed roses one, just because I can use that with other things as well. If I have, and maybe I should look through, I probably have one already that I could use. I think most of the time I won't use the crossbody strap, but if I do, I'll use a black one. I'm not going to make one with red because I will only ever use it with this, and 99.9% of the time, I'm just going to hold it like this. So I will, as I said, I will probably just use a black one that I already have, or make a debossed roses one if I don't have one already. But yeah, I'm happy with how this turned out. It's just so pretty. So thanks for joining, and if you like it, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.